Hey, hey, you guys. I'm live. Finally. There's always something. Oh boy. Okay. My table's wobbling. What's up, everybody? Some good people. Uh, Let me make an adjustment. I had to switch which tool I was going to use, so I apologize for the movement because I know that drives me crazy. When the camera's flopping all around. All right, let's try that. How are you guys doing? For anybody who catches the replay, have my laptop, my light, everything just boom, boom, and then boom, just like that. Just like that. So now I gotta go over here. I'm gonna flip on my computer as my watchtower. But how's everybody? Hope you all are well. Didn't want to use my phone because I need my phone. Hopefully you all are well. Um, See if I can actually get on my own page. Um, and then get started chatting with you guys. It's been well, actually, I came on and chatted with you guys. I did a live maybe a week or two ago, and it had been about 3 weeks since I had gone live previously. So okay, looks like it's at least on. So that's good. I just want to make sure it's coming over. So there's so much. There's so much to share. Oh, so much to share. I'm in a new city. I'm still in the same country, still in Costa Rica, but I am in a new city. This is the second city of apartment living. Excuse me. And then I've also kind of passed through two other cities here while I have been here. And so I'm trying to decide to go to my third city, whether or not I'm going to go to third city for a little bit of time before I leave Costa Rica. Just a little tidbit, you guys, a little travel info. Costa Rica, as y'all may already know if you've ever considered coming here, is not the least expensive country to travel to in Central America. It is actually one of the more expensive ones, especially this time right now. I was actually here. I'm gonna let you guys. I normally would not do this, but there's a beautiful kind of sunset out my window, and it's got hues of purple. So I thought I'd just show you that. But there's this is like the time frame when everything is like 3 times the normal price point for basic tier level things. I've even heard that flights to and from the States right now are expensive. I'm not looking for those because I'm not planning on going back to the States. But yeah, so if you're considering Costa Rica and it's not for any specific event or anything, I would strongly encourage that you do some price checking, look to see what areas you're wanting to be in, and then because obviously anything that's closer to the areas where there's something going on, like I'm in San Jose, so there's pockets of areas where you can get more reasonable pricing, but everything is higher. And the easiest way to see that if you're in a peak time frame is and you feel like everything is more expensive, is to go ahead and do your search like 3 months out, like same number of days, same type of weekend or whatever, dates, whether it's Monday through Friday, Saturday through, you know, Thursday through Monday kind of thing or whatever. Or if you're searching for a month, do that search, but do it a few months out, and you'll be able to see if in fact you're in a peak season or not. And so that's what I did. And then, of course, I just went and did some research. But I was already here because I came to do a work exchange at a yoga studio and did that. And now I'm just kind of moving around the country, or deciding if I'm going to move around the country, because this is literally the most expensive time to be here. And so it's kind of gnawing at me, because being a budget traveler, and this is going to get into our topic, the self-care and ease thing, but being a budget traveler, it's sometimes difficult to just like negate, you know, everything that I'm trying to do or wanting to do, just to go and visit somewhere when I've already done the little search and I know in 3 months the prices are literally one third. And, it's not like some, hugely popular event or something major going on, or I'm staying for, any particular reason that would require me to validate spending 3 times the amount. And so I'm trying to, go over that. And then I'm going to also be sharing with you guys like ways to get around, because it's not cheap to get around here either. Not as cheap as it is like to get on a shuttle bus, take a shuttle 5 to 7 hour drive is about the same, is actually double the price. To put it in perspective, is about double the price it is to fly from one city to another in Colombia and Ecuador too. Let me take that back. It's about the same price. Yeah, it may be the same price. One time the amount to fly from city to city in Ecuador. So they do have cheaper options, but it's like you would have to get on and off a bus, city buses as well as coach buses, like 4 times to get to a place. And that's just not feasible. It doesn't make sense. And then airfare is like double that, right? And so, I started looking at other options, but I'm going to share some of that stuff with you guys. But just a heads up, Costa Rica is on their high season. And a lot of South America probably is right now as well. And closely adjoining countries because of Carnival. So even though everybody doesn't celebrate Carnival, people celebrate Carnival, or they know that people are traveling for Carnival, and then that leads right into spring break or spring season holiday, whatever. So prices start to go skyrocket, which sucks. So anyway, I wanted to come on because what a perfect time to talk about this buzzword, self-care, buzzword ease, and a not so buzzy buzzword selfishness. And the question is, can we have self-care and ease without practicing some level of selfishness? And why is it that the idea of being selfish is so demonized, y'all? I know that was one of the worst characteristics that I was given as a child is, you're selfish. You hear that all the time, and that's not a good thing. You don't want to be called selfish. But as you grow older, you're like, wait a minute, maybe I do. Maybe I do, right? And so I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit. And first, if you guys are on and jumping in, because we're all in this space of, there's just been a lot happening over the last couple of years. And I think I think we're all trying to like re-navigate what makes sense and what's right for where we are in our lives right now, or just figure out where are we in our lives. I know I'm doing that every day. I was talking to my kids today. My granddaughter's birthday is today. She turned the big 1-0, or not the 1-0, the one, just the one. And they're just chatting with them and talking about the stresses of traveling and the next spot and what to do next and should I stay and the amount of money you spend and things to prepare for and all of these different things and things that can kind of start to increase the stress levels in your life, right? Increase the anxiety, start to get you to question yourself and what it is that you're wanting to do or what it is that you're doing. I think a lot of times, you end up with failed attempts at what it is that you're trying to do in life. You start going through and maybe start doubting the direction that you chose to go in. When you start having anxiety and you're starting to stress and you're looking and going, okay, is there an easier way? And a lot of times, we hear about, well, I'm going to go back and do what is easier. And I think one thing that I definitely want to kind of say is I think we're starting to see that there is no one hat. There isn't one hat that fits all. I'm gonna tell y'all, like, if you go like to different countries and you go shopping or whatever, they always have like straw hats, cowboy hats, whatever hats, right? They never fit. They never fit. I always have a protective style, so they definitely don't fit my head. They might now. But they don't fit. So, that whole concept around one size does not fit all is really true. And so this is the same idea with levels of stress. And excuse me, kind of been a long day. When you should decide or when does the self-care trigger hit? So you guys, as you're like jumping on and want to share your thoughts around this self-care tag word, what it means to you, if it's important to you, if it's not important, because you don't want to make something important that's not important. But the self-care thing, what that is, and I'm going to do what I always do, which is read a little bit of a definition, which I guess I could pull up here rather than paraphrasing. But the buzzwords are big nowadays, and I think everybody's jumping on all kinds of bandwagons and holistic journeys and typically self-care aligns with the physical part of our journey and self-betterment. It usually falls around there, but it does not stop there. It encompasses the mental part because, well, not even because, the mental part is often the part that is left off. The non-tangible pieces, the things that are really like decision based, that are not tied to, I got to get up in the morning and do my workout, do my walk, do my meditation, do my yoga, brush my teeth, whatever rituals that you have, for your own personal self-care. Self-care can start with basic hygiene, right? It's something that we start teaching our kids at a very young age to get up, brush their teeth. Then it's to brush your teeth and wash your face. Brush your teeth, wash your face, take a bath, learn how to take a bath, learn which parts to wash. All of that's self-care. It is self-care, but we just call it hygiene, right? And those things are physical. The did I eat my apple this morning? Did I drink down? So for me, my routine, I try to get up and I love to have some coffee first thing a lot of times, or even like a um, some type of either probiotic or immunity booster shot, something like that. Like I would love like that to be just like sitting and ready. And I haven't had that available for me. I had it when I was in the work exchange for like a couple weeks. But that's something that I would love to have, just like, oh my God, my pop them in, pop them in, pop them in. Because that's something I try to do before I even have coffee, or before I, let's say I've had a pastry or something left, or want one in the morning. Try to at least ignite my body with something that I know is actually going to help with toxicity and cleansing, right? So that's self-care. All those little things that we do every day are self-care. And self-care isn't always positive. I know the idea of saying self-care means that you're working on the betterment. There could be things that you're doing on a daily basis that actually impact the positive part, or impact the mental wellness, right? So that's a story for another day. We might get into it. I don't know. But let me just kind of just do a real quick, brief, I don't know, description of the definition of self-care. It includes everything related to staying physically healthy, including hygiene, nutrition, seeking medical care when needed. That's why it's like this huge buzzword right now, because we're becoming more comfortable with talking about the mental health part of self-care, right? It's all the steps an individual can take to manage stressors in his or her life and take care of his or her own health and well-being, right? So when I think of self-care, and I'm kind of going on this discussion and chat because I was having this moment, or not even a moment. I was sitting and just thinking about my next steps, which I swear is a conversation I'm having with myself all the time. And that's just something I took on when I left corporate America, left what is common and consistent every single day to do what I desire, my purpose, and my dream, to fulfill my dream. I left something that was common and consistent, at least in terms of the routine, to embark on a journey of uncertainty. That's really what it is. And so with that, I was sitting and I was just like, okay, so woosah, woosah, and all these things, I've really learned a lot how to kind of just sit back and do my best. I've only had very limited, I can count on one hand, maybe one finger, the number of times in recent, even last year when I was back in Dallas, but recent times where I allowed something to agitate my spirit, right? And so I want to talk about, as we go through this, how to get from acknowledging it, recognizing it, that you need to go through some self-care adjustments, that you need to acknowledge that you need the self-care, and how to resolve some of those things, or ways to avoid, prepare, sidestep, whatever we want to call it, so that we're in the proper alignment. And you guys will hear me, like, I use the term alignment all the time now. That's like that's my buzzword, as opposed to focusing on the negative connotation of the word trauma, or the cliche word of compromise. I like to say alignment. So in any case, I've been, and I still am. Like after I get off of this live, chatting with you guys about this self care journey. No better time than January of a new year to talk about self care. But I'll be going back to kind of like go back through and flesh through and figure out what do I want to do? What do I want to what do I want to do? Because I'm trying to visualize my travel journey. I really want to be in a country, each country minimum of 2 months. I really, really do, unless I'm hitting this plateau like I am with this financial block, with the timing of which I'm in a country, unless we can't stay. But in Costa Rica, for example, we can stay 90 days. And so I would like to at least be here 60 days. But that may not transpire because of the current cost. And I refuse to pay $3,000 for a shack simply because they can charge it. So anyway, I'm just thinking about those things and then just trying to figure out, okay, I'm leaving sooner than I thought I would be leaving. And actually, I had kind of thought I was going to go back to Colombia anyway because I loved it there so much. So I'm considering that as well, or heading off to a whole new country. So in that process, and even before I jumped on here, like I said, I had everything set up, and then I realized like it wasn't going to work, and I was like, why, right? And I just calmly got up. It was already 6:02 because I had been trying to get in for the live. And I just calmly got up, non-stressed, in ease. And I was like, where's my other stand? Since I have my light on this stand, where's my other stand so I can set this phone up and do it from my phone? I have another cell phone too. But it was like this process of, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not right on at 6:00. The world doesn't end, right? And I can honestly tell you guys, the self-care process of where I am now and dealing with number one, oh my God, I'm, not where I want it to be right at this moment. And, even 3 years ago, or let's say 4 years, because I think I literally checked out like a year before I actually quit my job. But of this whole idea of like having to plan and starting to stress to the point like one of my stress relievers, something that I do for self-care, is inversion. So I get upside down and it immediately relieves the stress and the tension. And that's one of the things that I suggest through this process is starting to figure out, number one, your physical body and how your physical body responds to things. Because if you don't know how your physical body responds to things, it's hard to manage self-care. Like we do a whole bunch of things, but we really don't know the impact and effect. And I'm dealing with something right now that I know exactly what the cause is. This is a matter of when are you going to get up and correct it, right? And so I've been going through this process of, okay, self-care, you know, create ease. Self-care, create ease. And then all of a sudden that word selfish came in because I was like, it's time to be selfish. And then I said to myself, but you know what, all my life, or we spend so much time talking about, people are so selfish and you need to be a giver, and you're talking about the good Samaritan, and if somebody asks, you should give it to them, and then I was like hit with conflict. How many of y'all, like, do y'all have those those situations where you're sitting and you're like just talking through concepts, ideas, things that are working for you, and then you hit a conflict with what it is that is working or does create the space that you need, whatever definitions, words, buzzwords you use. But then it also was in somewhat of a conflict with this belief of being within yourself too much, right? Tell me if I'm losing y'all. Tell me if I'm losing you. And so I was sitting there and I was just like, boy, this word selfish pops up all the time. And I was like, well, what's so wrong with being selfish? In all honesty, what's so wrong with being selfish? Because how can you practice self-care and ease if you're not selfish for you? This conversation I was having with myself, so said. And I was like, you should go online and talk about this because we talk like high level about nuances in our lives, things that are coming up, experiences that we're having, think commonalities, roadblocks that we're running into. All of that stuff is fantastic. And I have always been more on the problem solver type side and not much of the gossiper side, like talking about it and talking about it and talk like some things, if it has maybe irked me to the end of irkness. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, and this, oh, and this. And it's just like you keep remembering things or whatever. Yes, I've done that. Or holding on to things for too long and it's just like, it's clouding your judgment. But for the most part, I'm in the problem solving tier. So I'm always like, okay, so what's the resolution? All right, so we got everything out. What's the resolution? And I'm sitting, and when we talk about issues and things that we're going through in life and what's the next step? So I'm like going through this in my head and saying to myself, I haven't really been a part of any effective conversations where we actually start working through ways to truly administer self-care to ourselves. So this past month, I was doing or focusing in an area of self-dedication. So even that terminology came up. And I was like, well, how can I be self-dedicated if I'm not selfish? If I'm not thinking about myself, if I'm not literally taking this time to focus on me, right? Because actually, I was really, really excited about the month of January because I was like, for once, I literally get to put everything to the side, everything, and be in this little cubbyhole space. Nobody knows I'm here. Nobody knows, when I was doing the work exchange, and I can really dedicate some time to me and re-kick start off what I need to be doing for me, right? And what I will say is that program did sit in my spirit, and so it's something that I know I need to do and to carry on because I've been going through this discovery process for the last four 2018 was really like the hit of it when it really came and was like boom in your face. So I'm still on this same road and this practicing um, practicing. Let's just say practicing. And so I'm gonna circle back. So when I was talking about the self dedication part, um, it occurred to me that in some instances there is no applause for what comes with being self dedicated. Y'all know what I'm talking about. There's no applause that comes with um, saying. So there's pseudo, what I call pseudo applause. It's kind of like when if I were to come on and say, y'all, I'm coming back to the States, I think a million people would love it. I think the response would be just huge. Oh my God, welcome back to US. I'm so glad you're coming back. This, that. It's great. but it's kind of like the flip side of saying, hey, I just started my own business and ain't nobody listening. So like me traveling, it's like it's great, but you start to kind of feel and understand where people are more comfortable, right? So when you start talking about doing for yourself, sometimes people get uncomfortable and they don't really applaud it because they're like, well, should I applaud it? Because you're trying to like ice out everybody else, or then it becomes this religious conversation where God is not blessing me. But it's actually none of that. It's simply, it's really time for you to dedicate some time to yourself. So the what is the difference between self-dedication and self-care? Y'all please explain it to me because I have no idea. But I feel like when you literally say, or not even dedicate, self-dedication and self-care, selfishness and self-care. So selfish, the word selfish is such a negative, has such a negative connotation. Like we just don't use that. We don't say we're being selfish. But with self-care, in order to create the ease that I need to dedicate to myself, I have to practice selfishness, right? And y'all jump in. Let me know, because if you're just like, well, no, you can give to everyone. I always come back to my famous line, my quote from every flight attendant that gets on the mic and says to make sure you put your mask on first before you assist anyone else, including an infant. Well, if just even in that small scenario, I am instructed to take care of me because I cannot take care of someone else until I take care of me. Now, of course, you could choose, you could go ahead and put the mask on somebody else if you want to first. It's like totally up to you. But they tell you to take care of yourself first because you're of no help to someone else if you are in hindrance to yourself, right? That's why people always say self love. You can't love other people unless you love yourself, right? But how do you get to self love if you're not selfish within yourself, right? All this stuff. So I'm going through all these processes and, just thinking of how do you create self care? So I don't know who's on. What's up, y'all? How do you guys, what's self care look like for you? So for me, self care, I will say, is getting on an airplane. I swear to God, like that is like, and I'm gonna define it more like, of course, I'm taking care of my physical body and stuff like that, um, and creating ease in it. But how do I get to the place of like that euphoric feeling where I am at peace? How do I get to that when I get on an airplane? Like I am like, unless it's like the plane from HEW Hockey Six or something like that. But I'm like so at peace when I travel, when I go from one place to another, and I'm discovering and learning, and and really just uncovering the infamous question: "Ooh, could I live here? Ooh, could I live here?" Right? Um, I love that question. Ooh, could I live here? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what I'm trying to figure out with every decision I make, every place that I stay, every place that I go, so on and so forth. But part of my self care in the physical, because I'll just start with the physical part of it, was in the self dedication month, uh, was getting up every day. Not getting up, but getting up every day and getting out and moving my body intentfully. Um, I have gained weight, y'all. Ooh, child. And I reaped the result of gaining that weight by goofing off, being silly, and twisted, like pop twisted my knee, which I did when I was like a kid. I remember like my knee bone, the whole cap being twisted over here once. Anyway, popped it. I'm like past the point of popping my knee apparently. And like it was so swollen. It was like I had a whole elephant knee on it. And then so now like the swelling has gone down almost 100%. I am walking on it, but I can still feel underneath because yesterday I twisted it. I was standing and I was pivoting my body and boom, popped in. I was like, oh, it's not ready yet. It's not 100% ready. So I struggled because I don't like my Wolverine body repair is depleting. Clearly I need some vibranium or something. Anyway, and so now my ankle on the right side has just been swollen. It goes up and down, up and down. um but I also know that I am not doing some of my self-care things in terms of like I am in a stressful state, so I am binging on salt and sugar. So my meals are great, but my snacking is horrible. So I'm trying to stay away from those types of things and everything. But anyway, it was to get up, get moving, because when I get up and get moving, that also kind of triggers the other things to start moving, that I need to start doing. And the big part of January was also not only to get up and get moving physically, but get up and get moving again with um, some of the steps and things that I've outlined for my businesses and rolling some of those things out. And that process is doing all the physical things. So in addition to that is, I know the guy's gonna be like, oh, what? Getting my nails done, getting my toes done. I hadn't had my feet, my piaces. I don't know if that's a plural word for it. Um, Taken care of in over 6 months, because I didn't get it done in Colombia, didn't get it done in Ecuador, and I was in Belize before that. And so I can't remember. I don't think I did. And so it had been like 6 months. And so finally went and did that when I was a few weeks ago. And that is a self care thing. It's like dedicating some time to, it may seem like a beauty type thing, but actually it's a really good care. Your feet are like one of the most important limbs on your body, because if you damage your feet, as I damaged my knee, realizing how much you need that limb, it's crazy, right? And so your feet are really important, with or without the polish, and the polish is just extra, but it's the cleaning and removing any excess, because we have overgrowns, ingrowns, all kinds of things that could be happening with our feet that then cause us problems. And so while on the surface it looks like something simple, it's actually something big. So I don't know if all you guys get pedicures and manicures and stuff like that. Even manicures are important because they're good for your just basic health, for your bones and how things grow, and you can actually see how healthy you are as well, because when your nails grow, it's an indication of your hair growth, skin replenishing, whether or not your skin is healthy, if it's dry, because you'll be extra brittle in certain areas. But don't knock getting your feet done, you guys. That's some real self-care, and it's actually really, really important. Okay. And so that's another thing that I was adding back to my list of, like, self-care things that I should do on a regular basis. And I say this all the time, but I don't stick with it if I go somewhere and I can't find somebody to, comfortably do the things that I know need to be done and do it right, right? The other part was, you guys know I've locked my hair, but maintaining my hair, which I've always done, my hair, whether it's protective styled or, you know, a lot, but making sure to maintain. So like all of these little physical things that then feed into our physical appearance, right? And our physical well-being. So like if you like massages and things like that, like I said, I do inversions because I can't always get a massage, or maybe I'm trying to save some money and I, can't pay for a massage. I don't know. Out here they so cheap that, I mean, I'm not back in the States where I'm paying $100 for a 30-minute massage. Here it's like $16. for a massage. So I can't really use that excuse here. So I can afford them here. Can't afford them in the States as often as I would like, right? Like ideally it would be great to get a massage every week. And in some places you can. Like in Thailand, there's $6 massages, an hour and almost an hour and a half for a $6 massage. Why can't you get one every week, right? And so all of that kind of stuff, like just thinking about all the little different self-care things I can do, and you know, the health and wellness stuff, and making sure I have things available to eat so that when it's time to snack, I got the right kind of snacks, all those things. But then I started playing into the mental part, the mental aspect of getting into ease. And where do I always like land with that? So when it's, time to get into the mental part and talk about how does like decision making or the things that I want to do or the things I feel I need to do or the things that I'm tied up about, how are those impacting my day-to-day life, right? Because the physical only can do so much, because you still have to deal with the mental. You still have to deal with what you got to do, right? Like the things that are getting in your way. Like, am I like, ADHD? And y'all know I don't like to use terminology, but they redefined it, so I might be on board with it now. Just saying. I'm like really? Oh, okay. I thought it was just absent-minded. But paying attention, starting to pay attention to, and putting just as much emphasis on the mental barriers or mental issues that you run into, or roadblocks that you run into, that have to be self-cared as well, right? So like I literally wrote down a few things for mental, and one of the major ones that comes up is the energy that's around us, right? The energy that we keep, and it's our personal energy, the aura that we put off, and also being in spaces, other people, um, other situations, whatever, things that everything has an energy or an aura around it. Everything does. And the part around the energy sources, is the part that I think I struggle with the probably the most and probably the longest. In that, how do you one of the looming questions that I always end up asking is, how do you resolve or correct situations when you are kind of entanglement with an energy vulture, or maybe you're the energy vulture, I don't know, but you're in an entanglement with a situation that is draining your energy. How do you relieve yourself of that? And so that's when, boom, we jump over to that word selfish, right? And this is the reason why I wanted to come on, wasn't so much to like, give some class on self-care, and, although, identify some things, and if something clicks and you're like, oh yeah, that would be great. But really to kind of shed light on how you never know who's dealing with, conflicting thoughts or decisions, or, just in spaces in their life where, they're trying to figure out which direction to go, what to do. Everybody at some point deals with mental things. The easiest way to put it, we all have mental issues at some point in time, right? The levels of that is the variant. How we deal with that, recognizing it early enough, and knowing and identifying through some practice and writing what our triggers are, what sends us over, and what we need to do to ensure that those triggers don't set us back, right? So that if we're on a self-care journey, a self-dedication journey, a journey of ease, we are figuring out the ways, because you're going to encounter things. Just because you're on a journey, just because I'm on this journey, this quest of figure out where I want to live, doesn't mean I'm not going to run into hardship. Like, it would be irresponsible for me to really think that everything is going to be hunky-dory, peachy keen. I wish it was. As it was. Like, I really do. I really wish it was, but it ain't. So I still have to deal with the same things that I would be dealing with if, wherever I was. The goal is to figure out what's the trigger, how do I identify it, how do I kind of isolate it, and then what do I do with it? Like, or do I need to do anything with it, right? And in all of that, my struggle with this word selfish. So this is kind of like having that conversation to let you know that you're okay, if you're experiencing some of these same things. If you're in a space where you're kind of going back and forth with, is it okay for me to look out for myself over other people? Is it okay for me to say no to this because, that just didn't feel right. Somebody said something, or this happened, and because that's where I get, that has been a work in progress for literally 4 years. And I will say that I have not conquered it yet. As I might go through some lists of things, a couple things that you could do, I haven't conquered it yet. But what I do realize in this instance, most recently, is that I'm removing myself quicker. And that's a tactic, that's a tool. And removing yourself doesn't necessarily just mean physically, it can mean, mentally, from having to, resolve anything or do anything or decide anything or whatever. It could be any of those things. But identifying it and then figuring out why, like for me, I have an attachment to something because I still have some institutionalized or constructs within me that say, if you commit to something, loyalty is so important. Oh, these, like, you can't bail, you can't this. And I look back over the years and realize that how many situations and for how long, and this is like personal relationships, business relationships, whatever, things that we get into, and you look and you're just like, God, I should have left that a year ago, 2 months ago, yesterday, whatever. And when we finally do, we realize how much time has passed, that we could have been figuring something else out. But it's not a negative thing to look back and go, gosh, I wish I would have, because yeah, you are here now. But it is good to at least look and kind of recalibrate and say, okay, why still did I struggle? And what are the steps that I need to start taking so that I can bounce in and out a little bit quicker when I see, I'm going to use another cliche word, the red flag. I hate the flags. I do. You doggone flags. But y'all know what I'm saying. And so these are just little things that I noticed within myself. And I was like, let me just come on and chat with you guys and just at least just share some of this, because y'all might be encountering some of this yourself. You might be sitting and going, well, how do I know it's okay? Many of us, especially those like myself who are on this travel journey around here, trying to figure out what we doing with our lives, right? At 51 years old, I am literally embarking. I'm doing something completely different, and I love it, but it's scary. I did a podcast. I'm going to share some information for a podcast I did with a friend on their channel. That'll be airing at some point in time, but it's called The Water Bearer. The Water Bearer, I believe is what it is. It's on YouTube. Please go and check it out. It's my friend Carlos Harlow. Um, yeah, check it out, subscribe, all of that stuff. But one of the things that came up is, is there fear? Is there anxiety? Is there stress in the life that you're living? And most people look at me and just think that I'm just like on the one of them skateboards. Y'all, that's what I want to do one day. I want to get one of those really big skateboards. Somebody can buy me one of those. Or get some skates that I can take around the world with me. That would be really awesome. The little clip-on ones you put on the bottom of your shoe so it's not too heavy. But yes, I stress. Yes, I fret or have levels of anxiety sometimes, and it's if I'm going somewhere new and it's kind of a little iffy. I think the biggest of when I started to hit that was during the COVID months, COVID years, and just going, okay, what's going to be the issue? Is there going to be, am I going to be able to get out? When I left Kenya, I was literally like, I got to get out because they were literally changing the laws the morning that I was leaving. So I was leaving at like 12 a.m. The laws were going into place at 12 a.m. And so I wanted to be out, plus my visa was about to expire anyway. So, yeah, I do have anxieties. I do have those moments where I'm fretting about, okay, am I prepared if this doesn't work? Just all these different things, ducks in a row. But I've gotten to a point where I can offset a lot of those stresses and, do my little steps, what I call self-care, to offset those kinds of things, right? So I know myself well enough to kind of halt that before it becomes a major issue. Even like now, like I'm trying to leave in a couple of days and go to a different area. But I just checked and I was like, okay, well, I checked earlier today. Is the apartment I'm in available for a few more days? Okay. Instead of rushing, maybe just book this for a few more days. So that's some of the stuff I teach in my travel course too, not to get off track or in that, how to be prepared for things that you're not prepared for necessarily. To be in a space where you always can kind of fall back onto something, especially if you're traveling solo like myself. Like I don't know anybody right now physically in San Jose. Like I don't know anyone personally here. And so it is what it is. But that's how it is oftentimes. But the flip side of that is the things that you commit to. So get back to that. The things that I have committed to or want to do, or, I've got this long line of I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And, and then you do it or you get in it, just like I'm trying to change my travel plans or create travel plans, and it's not working out quite like I planned. It ain't working out like I planned at all. Like I'm just like, what? This is not what I envisioned. And I'm really struggling with, I don't really want to do that. And then I'm just like, this process of, but why do I feel obligated to do it? Right? Why do I feel obligated? And then I just keep getting hit with this word, selfish. You need to be selfish for you. You need to, and then it's this, oh, but I told someone else I was gonna, and this, so this is the part I seek other people's thoughts about, because everybody, y'all, we quick on the draw to be like, 2 seconds, I'm done, I'm out, I ain't doing, if I don't want to do it, we say that, like that is like the greatest game, because trust me, I say it too. When it comes down to it, it's like having your grandbaby sit right here in front of you and you tell her no. Right? I'm not saying that that's how it is, but I'm just saying sometimes that's what it feels like when you commit to certain things, right? And I've always had this, let me tell y'all something. I quit my job, but until I quit my job, I had never called off a day of work ever in my life. Ever, for any reason, I'd never called off. Like if I was off work, it was because of vacation. It was because I had planned it. It was like, it wasn't just this, oh, you just don't show up or whatever, right? So I've always had this level of commitment for things. If I tell someone I'm going to be somewhere or do something, I want to be somewhere and do it, or I'm going to inform them that unfortunately I can't. But more times than not, I always felt guilty about not doing something I said I would do, right? And so I would always do it, whether I wanted to or not. And then I'd be in a frenzy with myself because I'm just like, I didn't want to do that. Like I didn't want to this, or I didn't want to this, and it didn't turn out. And I'm dealing with something, and then all these other parts start to come that you're not expecting. And this is part of that self-care umbrella. It's part of having ease. How do you have ease when you aren't comfortable enough to be selfish for you? So that's the question I asked myself, self-said. And I was like, okay. Yeah, tighten it up. It's time to tighten it up, right? And really start thinking about the position not only that I'm in or putting myself in, but thinking about, okay, well, everything isn't necessarily a business, but everything has to start to be thought of as a business. So how do I resolve a situation? So it's just like if I go and I rent this apartment and something doesn't work out, right? Now, I may not get all my money back. I may not get any of my money back, right? But there might be some clause that I can go in and be like, okay, let's negotiate. This is not working out, right? What I'm finding, and I don't know if you guys can attest to this or not. Oh, and I'm not checking messages or anything, if there are any. But one of the things that I notice is that for me, when it's personal people that I know, people that I've talked to, I have I've been face to face. I have a more difficult time going, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to do something that I said I would do. So I'm trying to work through that and figure out where does that connection, this tie come from? Where does that come from? Outside of just doing that all my entire life, it might just be habitual, right? At this point, but those are things like that's the self-care. So outside of the physical, making I need to get up and go to the gym. We got a gym in the building, it's great and all of that. 30 minutes and all of that stuff. That's all well and good. But how do I start working on the mental thing? Because the mental thing is the thing that drives you over the edge. A lot of times, the mental part is the part that sometimes you can't escape. And it starts to weigh you down, right? If you're doing too much, you hit that capacity limit, right? And so those are like some of the areas where I sit and I start to pay attention to. Now I'm battling. Am I about to be too selfish? Am I not being selfish enough? But what is it that I want? So I had another note on there. I'll go back to that in another minute. I want to just like lay out or get you guys' thoughts on, but just share some of the ways that you can circumvent this idea of not wanting to be selfish for the sake of loyalty, commitment. You're working on things that you need to do for you, or for me, working on not allowing myself to be somewhere too long that I know I don't need to be, for the sake that it's going to get better. Relationships, we do that all the time, for the sake that, or hope that it's going to get better, or we're thinking outside of ourselves at this point, hoping that someone else realizes something. That's a fail. That is like a surefire fail. That's number one. Don't ever expect someone else to understand what it is that you're experiencing or going through or struggling with, even if you tell them. One of my biggest kick in the butts over and 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 over again is expressing something, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. The worst for me is when someone says, you didn't have to. I didn't ask you to. Like that is the that's the real wake up call. Like that's the real trigger. Like, and then you kind of go back and then you start to tea with yourself. Did you ask me? Yeah, you kind of did, or maybe you didn't, or this was subliminal. And that's when that, okay, are you doing this for you? Hey, Oracle Eyes. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you for checking in. Hope you are well. I'm just talking about the self care, ease, and selfishness thing right now. And whoa, because it's hitting on all cylinders in every direction, and I'm really realizing this. Sometimes you could be too nice, especially when being too nice backfires on you, right? And it's not like one thing. It's for me, it has been a consistent flow of this is just, how I've been operating. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, this, or I'll see things and boom, you take care of things and then you sit and you go, okay, that didn't really work out as planned. But then what do you do next? How do you resolve it? You said you're doing it. Just left my job, gonna move to Thailand next. Yes, you were talking about that single black woman, and I'm scared. Listen, I look, I'd be scared. I'd be scared too. I don't know if you caught that when I was saying that, talking about when I travel, I still have anxiety. I still, am a little, if it's something I haven't done before, I'm going a different route. Like, I was about to jump on some buses here and realize that this bus system here is nowhere near as nice as what I have taken in Ecuador specifically, or even what I've done in Kenya, like in Tanzania. And that's just simply a bus is moving and jumping on. And to me, that's a little less fretful, being on the side of the road hoping the bus come, than this situation here. And I'm just like, I can't believe they don't have a better bus system here in Costa Rica. And so, yeah, I do have moments, and every time I'm getting ready to go somewhere else, or especially to another country, okay, what are their rules? What are the regulations? What am I going to have to deal with? How long can I stay? Is it really worth it? All of these things. But I'm going to tell you just right out the gate, the fact that you left your job, the fact that you are in the space of your own self-care, you're on your own self-care journey. And what does that mean to you? Like I had asked at the beginning of this, what does self-care mean to you guys? Like, what do you guys do for your, you know, self-care regimen, or, processes, and whether it's in the morning, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whatever it is, what do you do to ease yourself and get into a place where you can start to make these decisions? So I give you so much credit for making these moves, because that's not easy to get up and quit your job. And I don't know if you have something else lined up, or what you're planning to do exactly. I know you had messaged me or was asking me about, or you're just talking really about places, and actually I can give you my email address if you'd like, because Thailand is it's big. It's small, but it's big. It's a big place, and you could be anywhere there and really have a profound time. And then you could be some places where it's not exactly what you were expecting. And like I will say with most things um, is to make sure, as I was saying, while I'm here now, is that you have an out. So if something is not working, you have a backup plan. So if I can't figure out where I'm going to go in 2 days, I'm probably going to book here for another day or two just to settle down and get it figured out. Because if I don't go to the coast like I planned, then I'm probably going to leave the country. And so I'm just going to take a little bit of time and, chillax and then bounce. So you don't have anything lined up. You want to do TEFL course. Listen, I was going to do TEFL. Okay, so I have a friend that I met in Thailand, a girl that I met in Thailand from, she's from one of the Carolinas, and she literally, it was her first real international trip. Actually, there's a video on my YouTube that I did, interviewed her, and she literally went and did all the necessary steps to sign up for the TOEFL school. So she did 30 days at the school. I did the online thing and just never finished. I still need to go and do it. All I need to do is take the test. But she did the TOEFL course in school, got certified, and literally was placed in a job for that school year, which I think is finished. So I'm not sure where she is or what she's doing now. But I mean, I can reach out to her to see if she's willing to chat with people about that. If you would like, just let me know. This is a huge plunge because never been there before and on a tight budget. That's the best place to be on a tight budget. That's why I'm trying to get back, because that resolves a lot of my financial woes, in terms of wanting to, like, the things that I'm wanting to do, some investment opportunities and just things that I'm thinking of. And, you know, like, I need to sit down. And what I mean by sit down is let's not be hopping around to places that are 3 times the amount that they normally are, i.e. Costa Rica. So, but getting to a place where I can, like, literally set my things down, and you know, have my cost reasonable enough that I can take some time, offload the self-care of taking my backpack off and putting it in a closet, taking all my things out and putting them in drawers. That's self-care for me. And then, you know, finding where I want to go and what I want to do. But Thailand is one of the best places. Southeast Asia just in general. So my next trip over will be hitting up Philippines and Vietnam as well. This is my first international. Oh, it's your first international trip. It was her first international. Wow, that is awesome. Congratulations. I love stories like this. I love when people pop on and tell me stuff like this. Man, I love it. This is my first international trip. Really, that's so cool. Please and thank you. Yes, I will reach out to her, see where she is in her life, and see if she doesn't mind me sharing her information with you, because you know, this is how we grow. This is how we do what we're doing, is building these networks and circles. And then one of the other ladies that I met as part of our Thailand crew, our Phuket crew, is she's in Mexico now. We did a lot of she did a book club, which was fantastic. We read Viola Davis's book, and then we've done some podcasts and things and YouTubes and stuff. So she's on my YouTube, and passing around and doing some things, and she has a wealth of knowledge as well. And then I have another friend that was part of our group, and he went we were in Thailand, and then he went to Vietnam, and he loves Vietnam. And so I'm taking some of his ideas and thoughts, and I definitely want to branch out and check out Vietnam. I hear so many awesome things about it. So, like, I would never have, you know, up until like maybe 2 years ago, considered going to Vietnam. It was just never on my radar. And then you talk to people and you're just like, why not? Why not? You know, especially when we talk about this price point. And you guys have seen my videos and my talks about Thailand and the costs. Of course, you could spend an arm and a leg if you want to, but accommodation costs, you could really get super low, especially if you're single by yourself person. You don't need a whole lot of space, but you want something nice. Y'all, let's get down to that $6,000 a year expenses, for $6,000 or less for your monthly. Why not? Why not? Hey Tony, what's up, Tony? Great topic. I'm still trying to figure out how to implement self-care for myself. Thank you for sharing. Listen, share whatever you're doing. Someone else, including myself, may need those tips. The 1, 2, 3s of what to do. And I'm gonna get on some of these. Oracle, you said, I heard, but good to chat with you, Tony. Good. I don't see you, but let me turn the camera so when I look over here, y'all still see. I have like 2 cameras, so I keep looking over here, but you guys are actually catching me on this one. But good to hear from you. I hope you are doing well wherever you may be. Maybe we'll cross paths again. I love it when you cross paths with people. It's amazing. I heard Vietnam was nice too. Yeah, I followed quite a few folks that, not quite a few, but a nice share of people who have been to Vietnam. But one of the groups I'm in too, and I'll actually share that with you as well. One of the Facebook groups is a decent resource for Southeast Asia. So many places. Yes. Have you ever stayed in a hostel? Yes, I have. I've stayed in shared room or like housing shares. Actually, my work exchange was a house share kind of thing. I've done like living type spaces where I've had my own private room and bathroom, but the common areas are shared. So the living room, kitchen, you can cook, all of that. We just did a hostel in Puerto Viejo here in Costa Rica with some of the other ladies from the work exchange I was in. And it worked out. It was great. Right now, it's so funny because I could stay in a hostel and it would be cheaper. Like some of the places I think are ridiculous. I'm not going to pay what I consider to be regular prices for a place I gotta, share a shower and I don't even have a curtain. Some of them are like that. Like I'm just like, y'all tripping, right? But you're charging like $85 a night. That's crazy. Um, location. But it was great. It was clean. It was the one that we just did in Puerto Viejo was a women's only dorm, so that was extra comfortable. It was such a beautiful place. It was perfectly designed and created. It was fantastic. I would definitely stay there again. But the reason I'm like in apartments now is because I literally was like, I need some time not sharing a bathroom. Like that is like one area that I realized that you could quickly set me off by your bathroom etiquette. And whoa, won't people push you? And it's people just doing their own thing the way they do it. And that's another area of self-care. It's like when I realize that something is not meshing. And these are just like we're just talking about values, like the way that you do things, what you value and what's important, or and not physical things, but the way that you live sometimes does not click with other people. And we're all adults. You can't go around trying to change people. But what you also realize is like there's this word that just is like a key for me is the word considerate. Everybody's not considerate on the same levels. Like everybody doesn't even see certain things and to be considerate about. And that's one of the things that I struggle. I was like, I need some like space and like hygiene space as well, and so it was necessary for me to be like, okay, I need an apartment. And so I've looked at some places where I'm going, and look, a lot of them be like private rooms with shared bathroom. And I'm like, I'm not sharing a bathroom right now. Nope, not sharing a bathroom right now. Nope, not sharing a bathroom right now. Especially if they're mixed dorms. Oh hell no. And it's like a young group because I have to also realize that I'm of that next level age bracket, like 20 years age bracket. That is just some things that's just not cute to me. There's things that just aren't funny to me. There's things that are just not acceptable to me. And I also realize that you could be around people where, if you got a group of people in a dorm and there's one bed left, let's say for example, and they put you in and you're with 6 or 7 other people that are with each other, you have to consider the fact that you will be the oddball, or it's not like a negative thing. I don't want to say it's a negative thing, but you just have to consider that a lot of times the age demographic is so young, especially if you're going to a place like it's a surf town. That means it's like a beach town. It's party all the time. So those are things that you have to acknowledge and consider when you're going to stay in a hostel. And unless you're getting in one that says it has to be quiet, like you got to read the fine print. You can write to people and ask them about it, read the reviews and things like that. If you're a woman trying to stay in a woman only dorm, because at the very least there you don't have to worry about they're being the opposite sex staying there. They might be working there, but they won't be staying there. But I can share more with you about hostels if you're interested. And yes, you turned 50 this year. Like I literally was saying today, what would be really nice is if they had, like, if we did a green book for 50 and older. And it's not like I'm like this old cow kind of thing, but there are just some things that, I notice in some instances where, there's just people do different things. And when you're talking about a 20 or a 30, in most cases, a 30-year age difference, what do you expect? I mean, what do you expect? They're literally there to party. So get you some plugs. So it's a way to save some good money. But for me, that's that self care thing is I look and go, okay, so I've done my stint of sharing space. Now I need to do my stint of self care for me and be in my own space that I can move about, go to the restroom when I need to use the restroom without stumbling over people or feeling like I can't, I gotta be quiet, I gotta climb down whatever. But there's some definite positives to it. I stayed in one in Canary Islands as well, but it was a private room with a shared bathroom. Bathroom was super clean. I did hear some people throwing up at some point, but they were quiet. They were quietly throwing up or doing whatever, drinking, whatever, and it wasn't a big deal. So I mean, it really just depends. Depending on where you're planning on being in Thailand, I don't know if hostels are such a big thing there. Like, hostels are a huge thing here in Costa Rica. Like, everywhere is a hostel. I swear, everywhere is a hostel, especially on the coast. In Colombia, hostels are huge. Hostels are like literally everywhere. There is a platform called Hostel World. Check them out because that's a way to kind of just get an idea. And a lot of the hostels on Hostel World, and you don't even like see them sometimes on like Booking.com. A lot of times you won't see them on Airbnbs, but like on Booking.com or Agoda, the hostel world ones aren't on there because they pretty much know most people who are hostelers pretty much are on that app. So just FYI. All right, so let me get back because that hour went by so fast. I don't know how that happens. I don't just be chatting. So like ways to avoid or not avoid, but kind of work through some for me. I'm just going to talk about the things that I was talking about is just learning when to say no, learning when something doesn't work, when energies don't fit, when something is not aligning properly. What are the things that you can do? And we always hear these things, these cliche things. I'm just kind of going back of work harder, you'll get where you're trying to go, and get what you're trying to get and achieve what you're trying to achieve. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, it'll come to you. All of these wonderful blue sky things, but they really don't tell you how to take care of you when something doesn't align, because we really don't talk about what it feels like when something doesn't align. Oftentimes we're like, okay, something's wrong with me. I must be doing something wrong. What did I do wrong? And it's not necessarily a right or a wrong thing. It's just a misalignment. And when you have a misalignment, you get an adjustment, right? You go into a shop and something's misaligned. They remove something, they fix something, they tweak something, and boom, either they fit it back together or they got to put in a new piece, right? So we have to, I think the biggest thing is getting to a point where we realize that we actually have to decide, are we going to go into the shop to get things fixed? And I think that's one of the biggest things is acknowledging that something is wrong, something is broken, and we need to get something adjusted quickly. We need to get a realignment. Because I'm big about, instead of doing things harder and harder, do things smarter. And in turn, to do things smarter, you have to acknowledge certain things, and then you also have to be willing to make some adjustments to your self-dedication, self-care, selfishness regimen in order for those things to actually become smarter, to actually fit into that hole where You're not busting your butt and still the results are the same. Um, Sometimes self care or ease or selfishness is, um, I want to take care of all of, my bills for, like, for me, I'm thinking of, how do I pay my accommodations for a year? And then I'm done with that. That's like the biggest thing. Get that taken care of. Then I'm at ease. That might be the thing, for not just me, but for other people, is figuring out where to go, what to do in this particular journey, right? So part of that is figuring out where to go. Where do you feel comfortable? Where do you fit in? And I'm going to tell you, Thailand, I feel like I fit right in. I was very, very comfortable there. I don't even think anybody looked at me like, I've been to so many places where people literally stare and stare and stare. Colorism is a real thing everywhere in the world, most places in the world, I should say. And Thailand was one of those places where it was just like, he's just another person walking on the street. Like, it literally, and I'm not negating things that can happen here and there. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, just as a person who has experienced people just staring at me, just to be staring at me because I got a little bit of color. Um, it was eye opening. It was awing. It was amazing. It was wonderful. It felt good. To be in a space. It was like when I was in Colombia. I was like, oh my God, I just fit. And then the body types too. Like, you don't stand out because you're hippier and all. I mean, you can walk anywhere. Like, clothes fit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of different things. Thailand is a little bit. I was able to find a lot of stretchy things, and I was able to buy clothes, and all that was easy, and stuff was super cheap. So figuring out those kinds of things. For me, one of the things I'm learning is, we talked about energy or misalignment, is how do you remove yourself from situations that are no longer aligning, that no longer fit. We talk about it all the time. We talk about, this whole idea of, if it no longer fits in your life, if it no longer fits your journey, your path, you have to figure out a way to discard it, remove it. And as I mentioned earlier, is, that's one of the things I struggled with the most, is number one, realizing when I do it, realizing when I'm all in to something, and not feeling like I have a decision that I could say, I'm all out. This isn't working, I'm all out. And so that's that whole vet in advance process of, what am I losing? What am I putting in? What am I giving away of myself? That if this doesn't work, like renting this apartment, wanting to leave, it doesn't work out. What happens if it doesn't work? What's the loss? What's the penalty if it doesn't work? Am I ready to walk away if it doesn't work? Am I willing to negotiate for what, I feel like I deserve? Things like that. It's like going through that step by step of selfishness in a positive way. There's like, there's negative ways to be selfish. You just being nasty, but I don't call that selfish. I call that being nasty, right? There's nothing wrong with identifying what you need to do to actually accommodate yourself through a process. So if that means being selfish, to sit aside and say, okay, I can't do this anymore. It's not working for my mental. It's not working for my physical. It's not, whatever the case may be. It ain't working for my pocketbook. Like physically being here, I'm just like, God, is this really working for my pocketbook? Because even like prices in the store, stuff like that, like everything it's not what, comparatively to South America, the places I was in South America, both Ecuador and Colombia, this is minimum 2 times higher, just on GP, right? And so, this is, it's aligning with my pocketbook. So it's not always attached to someone else. The issue isn't always attached to someone else. It could be attached to a thing. It could be attached to a task or something that you're doing, place that you are. Do you really need to be there? You know, just Oracle, you said you quit your job. I quit my job almost 3 years ago. And it's because it got to a point where it wasn't really aligning with the path I was taking, the journey I was making. And so we make these one-off things, we do it, whatever. And for me, like, I wasn't attaching that to, okay, the next thing. So then I would have a debacle the next time. Like, well, how did I get back here? How did I get into a place where I'm doing something that this is not working, but I really don't want to pull back because I feel bad, And so I'm getting to the point where it's like, scratch that out, that I feel bad after I've kind of gone through the process of why am I feeling this way? Why am I doing a certain thing? What happens if I do or if I don't? You know what I'm saying? It's like you go through everything that you need to go through to figure those things out. But still remain true to you. Remain true to what it is that you need to do for you. Because what's the point of talking about self-care, self-dedication, being at ease if you can't be selfish for you? And that's just like, I just have every day been drilling that into my head. It's okay. It's okay to be selfish for you. Going back and going through all the things and remembering, oh, you're selfish, oh, you're selfish, oh, you're selfish, and seeing that as a negative, but it really wasn't negative. Or shouldn't have been received as negative, because there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe if we are more selfish, we wouldn't be in situations where we're regretful. We're wishing we wouldn't. We wish that someone else would. There would be no wish, because we wouldn't be in a position to give somebody else that much power over our lives, right? And so, those are some of the little things that I would say is like literally go down that list of what are you willing to lose? What's the last straw for you to get out? What's your contingency plan? Um, can you remove yourself from a particular situation without there being too much disruption? And sometimes the disruption is unavoidable. It just is what it is. But you still have to be true to you, right? Because there's nothing like not being true. And now you got to deal with not being true and the time and energy and displacement that you're putting on yourself, being in a space or in a situation, whatever it is, financial, physical, like, just all of these things that could be pushing you off of your ease and self-care journey, right? One must be selfish in order to be truly giving. To take care of others before yourself is foolish, not so. I need to steal that. It's so real. I think, I was supposed to give somebody the book J. Krishnamurti. I think we read so many things, whether it's the Bible, whether it's the teachings and things like that, and we hear all about this selflessness and all of that. But selflessness is great to some extent if you have an abundance to be selfless with. And so we never talk about the overflowing cup. We, in essence, so I got a coffee cup and it's like half full, right? Well, I technically don't have anything to give anybody because my cup what I have is contained within this cup right now. What I should be giving is my overflow. And we really don't talk about it from that perspective. We don't talk about, giving in the excess of us. And that's because oftentimes we don't have any excess. So somebody walks up and we just, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, all this, these rules and these guidelines, because one, we're also trying to make sure we look good and we look right, and Father rains down on us. But it doesn't matter if you look good or if you're right. If your mind is saying you don't want to do it, God hears what your mind is saying, right? So why not be true to yourself? Because God already knows. So there's now that we got this level of phoniness, we being phony, so we ain't really being true. So there's just like this culmination, and I could go on and on and on and on and on, and I'm not gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. But you guys kind of get the idea, like self-care and ease, in my opinion, are not possible unless you're selfish. And I'm not talking about nasty, negative, crappy selfishness. I'm talking about just doing what is in alignment for you. And how do you do what's in alignment? This is another how-to. Is start to acknowledge, write down, understand what it is that is in alignment. Well, how do you do that? Understanding what you want. Sometimes you don't know what you want, but you do know what you don't want. We've had enough experiences in life that we can at least write what we don't want. You write what you don't want, it starts to tie back to, oh, well, this is more in line with what I want. This is what I want, and then you can start to map out what it is that you actually desire. You start to map out what your actual journey is, what your plight in life is, what you're trying to achieve, uh, what comes naturally, what is the where, your why, the how, the what it is that you're doing. That doesn't come from some textbooks. It's just truly just what falls and folds out of you, right? So anyway, y'all, I am going to, let me see, 1:30, 1 hour 30 minutes. We go like cut it. Y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna try to do another video. Maybe I can record it right after this, of some of my Colombia trip, and as well as some of the beginning of Costa Rica, because I just would really like to share with you guys a little bit about some of the places that I've been to here, so that you can, when you're out here, you can explore a little bit more and know what to expect. Y'all know I'm all about be prepared. Be prepared, know what to expect. So I'm gonna get out of here, you guys. I appreciate you guys chiming in, y'all sharing, uh, being a part of this impromptu live that I decided to jump on and do today. But it was one that was kind of, it kept popping up, kept popping up, kept popping up. And it's near and dear to me because that one word has always been like kind of gnawing at me. And I've recently, freed myself from feeling that there's any negativity in me doing what I need to do for me, right? So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I will chat with you guys, everybody who is still on. If you rewatch the whole thing later, or share it with a friend if this might be helpful. Like I said, I was just kind of just sharing some of my thoughts with you guys. It wasn't really, some master plan or anything like that. But if we can share uh, tools and things that we use with one another, I'll type some of the things that I was sharing in the comments, whether related or not, so you guys can come back and take a look if there's some links and stuff like that you can utilize. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate you guys all the time. I'm gonna get back to doing more videos, maybe not as many lives because I don't know if I'm going somewhere with good Wi-Fi, but I'm gonna start getting back to posting regular video content, you guys. I just gotta get my mental into a space where I can do that, and I'm working on getting back there for February. So I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all know the drill. As always, toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease.